Are we live? We're live. Okay, individuals, ladies and gentlemen, and aliens, and people who identify whatever they want all across the world, welcome. We are live. And to begin this live broadcast, I would like to quote the great philosopher of our time, Eminem. Guess who's back? Back again, right? Daniel's back. Tell a friend. Seriously, tell a friend. We're always looking to have people on our YouTube channel, our YouTube live streams. Today, obviously, we are covering the recession proofing, and I brought out the digital writing pad. As you guys can see, there's some space behind me. I'm going to be writing in it. So, right, you guys can see, right? I should probably make that a little thicker, shouldn't I? Right, so I'm going to make it a little thicker. Let me see. There we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, this will probably help you guys see a lot better. That way, you guys aren't like glaring into the screen, you know, trying to see what I wrote down. But it's good to be back, guys. Right, last week I was actually in Hawaii. Actually, I was on my honeymoon. So your boy is recently married, right? I'm a newly married man, a changed man, right? In all honesty, I don't feel any different, right? I mean, I still wear the same clothes and do my hair the same way, and you know, I just happen to not be alone anymore, right? But it's good to be back, right? So again, major thank you to Sam, my brother, for covering me last Monday. But it's good to be back here with you guys. And I'm not gonna lie, you know, I love Hawaii. You know, Kauai was awesome. I highly recommend that everybody go there. The weather was phenomenal, but you guys are gonna think I'm a little crazy, but I prefer Illinois. You know, as weird as it may sound, as inconsistent our weather may be, you know, I missed being here at the office. I missed being able to go to my gym. I missed being able to hang out with friends. But you know, it was a good time. It was a good time for me to spend with my wife, and you know, we had a fantastic experience, right? Something that we'll always cherish and remember. So we've been doing this thing for like the last couple months, where you tell me where you're from, and I share a little bit my thoughts on that real estate market. So I guess I'll kind of start first, since I was in Hawaii for the past week. In terms of the real estate market, it sucks, right? It sucks so bad because everything is so expensive, right? I mean, if you're by the coast, you know, it's just ridiculous, right? I mean, Lisa and I, we were driving around, you know, Kauai, and for those of you guys that know Kauai, you know, we spent some time in Princeville. Right, and Princeville is, you know, one of the wealthier known areas. You know, a lot of celebrities go there. I think like our tour guide said, like Ben Stiller has a house in Princeville. So I was trying to look for Zoolander, couldn't find him. Right, but you know, I looked up just for fun. Right, just for fun, I looked up what these houses were worth, and like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house up in Princeville, Hawaii, it was like $3 million. I was like, oh my goodness, like that is insane. So the taxes still are not as bad as Illinois, right? $1 million house, I think their taxes were something along the lines of like $2,100. Whereas here in Illinois, if you own $1 million house, you're paying, you know, $18,000 in taxes every single year. You know, I mean, that's talking about $1,500 a month. That's like rent. You know, so Hawaii, I'd say very similarities to the Southern California market when it comes to the real estate aspect of things, right? So you tell me where you're from. Also, if you have any questions on real estate investing right out of the gate, feel free to go ahead and type that in. I'm going to be talking a little funny, guys, because I have a nasty little canker sore on my bottom lip. So if you see me slurring my words, I'm not drunk. I do not participate in the substance use of drugs. But right now, today, I'm suffering a nasty kick. So if you have any solutions, right, any holistic solutions to rid of the pain, feel free to comment down below. Let me know how I can fix this, because I would love to be able to fix this. Right, it hurts a lot. Right, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Right, it hurts a lot. Okay, so we covered, you know, tell me where you're from. I'll tell you a little bit about what I think about that real estate market. Put down any real estate investing questions in the comment section below. Solutions for canker sores. And also, we're also going to be covering recession proofing today. So it's a topic that I feel like a lot of people talk about, but a lot of people don't talk about. You know, it's kind of like talking about American culture and not bringing up baseball, apple pie, and the NFL. You know, a lot of people are like, well, this is how you can, recession proof your business. Well, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. A lot of these recession proofing gurus out there, what they've done, they lost everything during the recession. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying they didn't learn from their mistake. But, and I'm not saying that I went through the recession either. Guys, like in 2008, I was in, where was I? I was in the 8th grade. I was literally a boy, right? As I said 5 seconds earlier, right? I was in the 8th grade, a freshman in high school. I'm not going to be able to tell you what it's like to invest in real estate during a recession. But I can tell you, and what I can bring you this morning is this, right? I traveled across the country many times, right? As you guys know, right, there was a 2-year period, a 3-year period where I was on 4 or 5 flights a week. I was traveling to 3-4 cities every single week, and I was in front of hundreds and thousands of real estate investors, training them on real estate investing, right? On what I was able to do to achieve what I've achieved in a short span of time, right? And I've been able to have conversations and interview and build relationships with these people who have been investing for 20, 30, 40, sometimes even 50, 60 years. And I've been able to accumulate a multitude of lessons from them on what to do and what not to do during a recession. And that's what I'm going to bring to you, right? Everything that I say to you guys in terms of what I train you today on recession proofing or what I share today on recession proofing, guys, let me be perfectly honest and clear. None of these are my original ideas or experiences. Now, do I have a lot of other original ideas other than recession stuff? 100%, right? But what I'm bringing to you today is really, really good stuff because it's the accumulation of hundreds of different real estate investors that I got to speak with throughout my investing careers and bring it to you in terms of the do's and don'ts in terms of a recession. Capiche? Capiche. All right. Let's see. Let's read some stuff. What we got going. Oh, awesome. Some announcements, right? So obviously we've always got our free owner financing course, which one of the things I tell people all the time is if you want to recession proof your business, go the owner financing route. Buy buildings on seller financing, on agreement for deed, because a lot of recession proofing your business is learning how to work with the bank, or most importantly, learning how to stay away from the bank, right? The banks are such a big aspect, and you guys will see why here in a second, right? When I cover this training, right? In between some questions, of course, right? So free owner financing course, guys, that's a 90-minute owner financing class that myself, Sam, Joel, Ricky, the guys that are also Steve Hamilton, our in-house tax professional and tax and legal expert. It's a class that the 5 of us put together to help you guys learn without having to pay a single dime. We want to be able to provide you guys the value and show you guys that we're for real, right? That we want to help people, that we want to see people win. And at the end of the day, that's what I want, right? All of you guys right now that are on this live broadcast, I want to see you guys win, right? I want to see you guys make $1 million, spend more time with your family and friends, and just live life, right? That's overall what we're trying to go for. So free owner financing course. This video is also brought to you guys by PropStream. It's a software that I personally use in my real estate investing business. Matter of fact, I'm actually targeting a lot of multifamily buildings right now. Not for me to personally buy, but for me to just kind of look at, and maybe if I have a friend that needs it, I could just kind of ship it off to them. So that's how I find my properties right now. And again, guys, I know I mention this every single week, but I've used a lot of different softwares, right? I really have. A lot of different real estate investing softwares that, help you find deals, help you skip trace them, do mailing campaigns. And guys, my experiences with a lot of different real estate investing softwares, they were good, but they weren't awesome, right? They weren't perfect. They didn't make me go, holy crap, right? Like, it didn't blow my mind. Reason being is because a lot of the other real estate investing softwares out there, I find their information to not be as accurate. So if I were to look up a building and, I'd say, oh, like, look, there's a 39-unit building right there, or a 40-unit right there, and there's the owner information. A lot of times, guys, when I would verify that information myself by going through those public records and looking up online and seeing the recorders of deeds offices and their records, a lot of times their information would be false. It'd be wrong. There'd be an exchange of title and the software didn't record it, or the software gives off bad information. There's been times where I sent a lot of mailing campaigns with different real estate investing softwares, and every single time I get at least 1 or 2 letters back saying, hey, what are you doing? Like, I don't own any property, leave me alone, and along with some pretty choice words, right? But with PropStream, guys, I've used PropStream now for 2-3 months. I haven't had a single issue with the accuracy. Every time I looked up the information that I found on PropStream, it was correct. I've yet to find any piece of information that's inaccurate. So I'm super confident. That's why this is the first time that the Kwak Brothers is ever promoting a real estate investing software, let alone an outside product, right? And it's for good reason, right? It's because it's super helpful to us, and it's also going to be super helpful to you guys. And it's also one of the cheapest softwares that I found in the market. So check it out, guys. There's a link in the description below for PropStream. We do have a special relationship with them. So I believe it is like reisoftware.thekwakbrothers.com, something like that, right? You guys will see it in the description below. So check that out, guys. Please do. And again, as always, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, right? Like this video. It really helps us do what we do in terms of giving out free content. And here's a question that I have for you guys that I've been thinking about, because I want to be able to serve you, right? Sam and I both, we want to be able to help you where you're at. So answer this question for me. Would you guys like this Q&A session better if it was in the evening, right? Let me know. That's a thought that I had kind of on the drive over here, right? Let me know, guys, right? If we're thinking about moving it to either 7 or 8 o'clock Central Time in the PM, right? Because I understand a lot of our viewers are in the West Coast. And I didn't know this, but we've got fans in Hawaii, right? I didn't know this, but we do. And we want to be able to accommodate everyone, right? So I was thinking to myself, like yesterday night on the drive over here, I was like, like 11 a.m., that might not be the best time for people because, well, if you're talking people in the West Coast, Pacific time, it's 9 a.m., they're at work. If anything, they just got there to work and it's their busiest time, because they just got there. And, for people, in the middle of the country, right, like your mountain time, your central time, you're talking about 10, 11 a.m., they're probably still, again, at work, and if you're talking about people in the East Coast, they're noon, it's during their lunch break. So it really only accommodates people in the East Coast. And, I was driving over here and I'm like, man, I don't know if we can claim to be a company that helps people become financially free, helps people get out of their job, and yet our live Q&A sessions, which is, probably the biggest opportunity for you guys to spend time with me in terms of asking me questions and being able to communicate with me directly other than just email, but actually being able to hear me live. This is the biggest opportunity that we give for you guys, our YouTube audience, right? Our Facebook audience. So I was kind of thinking that, we want to be more available for you guys, right? And I know this is recorded that you guys can go back and watch it, but I want to be able to have you guys be able to interact with me live and be able to interview and interact with me personally, right? So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about that. We're thinking about moving it to 7 or 8 p.m. Central Time on Monday night. So let me know, guys, please. I want to be able to accommodate you guys. Help me help you is pretty much what I'm trying to say, right? Okay, so let's go to the comment section. BJ said yes. Okay, cool. Christopher said congrats. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate that. Ian Jack says congratulations. Thank you, Ian. Antonio says hi from San Diego, California. So San Diego, California, I think we're pretty much you know what? Let me talk about San Diego, California during the recession proofing, right? So whenever I get to it, right, if I in between some questions, I'll go ahead and address markets like San Diego, because San Diego is very similar to a lot of different markets out there. They also have right now, I did some research a couple weeks ago, they also have, I think, the highest cost of living right now in the whole country, actually. Like, they have the highest rents. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay. Jesus Zamora says sleep it off. Yeah. So I went to bed last night at 1 a.m. So for those of you guys that know me really well, like if you're one of our one-on-one clients or you've been following us for a very long time, you know that 1 a.m. is very early for me, right? Like I'm going to bed early if I sleep at 1 a.m. So I did go to sleep at 1 a.m. last night. Woke up at like 9:30, right? So I did get a good 8.5 hours of sleep, which again, if you know me really well, that's a lot. That's a lot for me. Okay, Calgary, Alberta. So that's Canada. Is that Canada, Chris? Canada? Calgary, Alberta. Let me look that up real quick. Calgary, Alberta. Let's see. Calgary. It is in Canada. Okay. So, I'm so sorry, Ian Jack, but I won't be able to answer that question for you just because I don't know Canadian law. And a lot of times when I look at certain markets, not only is it different economically speaking, but the biggest thing that we have to concern ourselves with is the legal aspect, right? I always tell people, listen, when you're starting a new market, yes, it's sexy to start, to start on the vacancy. It's sexy to start on the rental demand, the year-to-year change, the local, index score, walking. It's very appealing to start with that. I always tell our students and even our one-on-one clients and even myself a lot of times when I look at deals in other states, always, always, always start with the legalities. Always start with the law because that might change your exit strategy based on what the laws are in Illinois versus Indiana versus Virginia versus Florida versus whatever it may be, right? So 100% guys, write this down, right? Because at the end of the day, the pen is mightier than the mind and the sword. Always start with the legalities when you're starting new markets, right? But Ian Jack, I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer that question for you because I don't know Canadian law, right? Good morning from Atlanta, right? ATL. So I love Atlanta. I think Atlanta is a phenomenal rental market right now. I think the market's a little too high, a little oversaturated for buying multifamily and apartment complexes in Atlanta. But I do see Atlanta experiencing a rather large population growth. I know a lot of big corporate jobs are headed to Atlanta. And I know a lot of people in general are moving towards the southeast. So any major city in the southeast and its secondary market, not metropolitan and primary market, but I'm always telling people right now for the last 6 months or so, invest in the secondary markets of metropolitan cities in the southeast region of the United States because you see the largest rental increases and benefits happening in the secondary markets whenever you have a rise in metropolitan. Why? Because you're increased in commuters, increase in, so a lot of times when metropolitan cities experience big change, big population change, first off, the housing in the metropolitan city itself skyrockets to the point where your acquisitional level of entry becomes rather difficult. Because I always say, what's the biggest bang for your buck? So yes, your rental demand is going to get a lot higher in your primary and metropolitan markets, but I would make the argument that that's going to allow your level of entry to be rather high, and it's not going to be worth it at the end of the day, right? For me, it's not about how much money can I make, it's how much money can I make based on how much money I put in, right? If I told you that you're going to make $100,000, you'd be like, oh, heck yes, right? Any amateur investor would be yes. But what if I told you in order for you to make that $100,000, you have to first give me $250? See, now the conversation becomes different, right? But all of a sudden, if I said, hey, I'll give you $100,000, all you have to do is give me $50,000, you're going to be like, wow, that's a 200% return on my capital. That's great. So I always tell people, listen, it's all about your bang for your buck. I don't care if the rental, right, if the rents go up. I want to see what does that do to my purchase price? What does that do to my acquisition level of entry? Because every single broker / realtor out there will tell you, especially these commercial brokers, hey, the rents are going up in this area, right? You got to start buying apartments like right now. And and you're going to look at that purchase price and be like, whoa, like I don't know if I want to buy this on 6% cap rate. Which, by the way, a lot of these brokers will inflate that cap rate number. Like they'll take some numbers out of their expenses and things like that. If you want a good rule of thumb, I always say use a 50% expense ratio. That does differ, however. If you're in places like California, New York, Illinois, and you're investing in a metropolitan city, chances are your expense ratio is closer to 65, right? But however, right, I always say secondary markets of large metropolitan cities, because yes, population increases, rents still go up, but your acquisitional level of entry is not as high, right? So you do get more bang for your buck. So that way you're actually able to take advantage of the population increase. And right now we are at a time where we have to be very sensitive to values. And I'll explain why here in a second when I talk about the recession proofing aspect. Okay. I'm feeling that positive time change. Yes, 100% agreed. Let's see. Evening works best. Evening works good. Okay. What type of deed do you receive with a sub 2 agreement? So you're talking about a subject to acquisition, not necessarily a subject to agreement, because typically, and for those of you guys that don't know what a subject to it's short for subject to the existing mortgage, and it's an acquisition strategy in which you take over the mortgage payment of somebody else's bank, right? So if person A, right? So let me explain this in the whiteboard, which is why I have it. Okay, so let's say you got you. Let me darken this a little bit. So you got you've got the seller, and you got the bank, right? So am I good, Chris, on the angle here? Okay, so the seller makes the payments to the bank. And let's say they are in a situation where they cannot continue, right? Like they just want to get rid of it. So they're motivated, right? Cannot continue payment. Right? And let's say for the sake of the example, because I do see this from time to time, they are behind. Now, I will say this. You do not typically see this with multifamily / apartment complexes. You typically don't. Because typically in an apartment complex, because there are a lot of different revenue streams, you typically don't see people defaulting on their payment, right? Unless they're on like an adjustable or banks call them for notes being due. Typically don't see that. You typically see this more with like single family houses, right? Or even like duplexes and 3 flats, but even then I don't really see it a whole lot. I see this the most with single family houses. Okay, so seller is making payment to the bank, seller is motivated, either cannot continue the payment or they're behind. Let's say in this case scenario they're behind $3,000. So for you, as the real estate investor, as the buyer, you're going to purchase the property. So property goes to you. However, you are now making the payments to the bank. And if you like, you can give $5,000 at closing, $3,000 to catch you up, $2,000 to the seller just to walk away, right? That is your typical subject to transactions. Now, be careful because the bank will most likely underwrite you now as well. So because you are taking over the mortgage payment, they will most likely underwrite you. What does it mean to underwrite? They're pretty much trying to assess their risk. They want to see if you're going to default or not, right? So they're going to ask for your income. They're going to ask for your financial statement. They're going to look at your net worth. They're going to look at your expertise in real estate, which is why I always say training, getting educated is so key, right? Like when people tell me that they can learn all this stuff off podcasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, although I'm not opposed to that, right? Like I do it all the time, but I've bought a lot of different education programs because I know that a lot of podcasts out there, whether you want to fight me on it or not, it's true. 100% of the information is not accurate, right? It's not. So I've been doing real estate for 6 years, and I've done pretty well for myself, right? I've done a lot of different deals. I've met a lot of different people, and I've also bought a lot of different education programs. And I can tell you that listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of the information's not accurate because a lot of these different platforms, they don't even vet their guests, right? They're like, oh, what have you done in real estate? They just come on and they just blurb out whatever they want. So it's like Wikipedia, all right? Or it's like any other public forum where people can just say whatever and you can't, there's no way of you verifying whether that's true or not, right? With an education company, at least those people are qualified, they've been vetted. I know even our instructors, like I vet them very carefully, trust me on that, right? If I'm not teaching the class, I vet very carefully on what their real life experience actually is, right? So please keep that in mind, right? Okay. So your education level, they're gonna look at your tax return, anything, right? They're gonna look at like life insurance policies if you have cash value, and it also may trigger a due on sale clause. So again, have a real estate attorney always by you to make sure that does not happen. All right, so you're pretty much taking over the payment, subject to the existing financing. Hi from St. Louis. Hey, Tom Schmidt. Hello to you from St. Louis. I'm actually, I think St. Louis right now, they have a major housing shortage. I do have a friend, one of my best friends, who's been on our show before, Melvin Johnson, who's doing some developments and fix and flips in St. Louis, and he's crushing it. He's absolutely crushing it. Hi from Oahu, Hawaii. The PM is good. Yeah, because I know you guys got like a 5-hour time difference with us and you. So 11 a.m. right now for you is 6 a.m. Sorry to wake you up so early. My bad. Right. But yeah, I mean, if we did something like 7 or 8 p.m., that'd be afternoon for you. That'd be closer, closer to you, so to speak. So thank you, Diane Cook, for that feedback. Sounds like a good time. I'm in Southern California. Works for me. I work nights. That's my day. Okay, perfect. Yes and yes. Okay, so everybody is saying that. Yep, Ian Jack says 11 a.m. is so hard. I agree with you. Top Secret Bear, because I know Atlanta's growing, is ready for a flight. Yes, totally agree. 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. work shift. Ooh, sorry. What about Illinois? A lot of West Peoria came up, but wholesaling is a bit harder. Yes, it is, because that new law. So do you have to double close everything? What if it's in my trust with the bank? Is double closing my only option? Yes, Canada, eh? So, Deborah, are you familiar with the new law that recently came out on wholesaling? Pretty much saying that you cannot wholesale unless you have a proper entity structure and you can only do one a year, and or you have to get your real estate license. Based on your question, I don't think you have read up on that law. So, email me at info@thekwakbrothers.com. It should be on the bottom page here. info@thekwakbrothers.com. Email me if you have any questions on that. All right, let's talk some recession proofing. Yes, okay. So the number one thing that people do not understand on recession proofing is they buy everything on cash flow. They don't pay attention to the value or the equity accumulation. What is the biggest and most popular word right now in the world of real estate investing? Let me give you a hint. It starts with an R. It starts with an R, people. Right? It starts with an R, and I'll give you, I know there's some lag here between the live stream and you guys, but let me ask you guys, what is the most popular word right now that starts with R in the world of real estate investing that I absolutely cannot stand? I'm going to allow the questions to come in. Hey, Kelly Sakai, what's going on? It's good to hear from you again. 1 drop On Guard essential oil to 1/4 cup of water. Swish in mouth for 30 seconds and spit out. In addition to helping the canker sore heal, the cinnamon and clove oils in On Guard will help numb the sore and prevent infection. On Guard essential oil. I'll have to do some research on that. Thank you. Thank you for that. But the word is refinance, and I can't stand that. So let me tell you guys. Let me share with you why, right? And we're going to tie this into the recession proofing training. So here's what's going on right now. Here's what a lot of people in the world of real estate investing are doing, right? So we got our little property here, right? We got a little property. And right now, I'm just going to use apartment complexes and multifamily because that is by far the most important, that's the most popular
asset that everyone's looking to do right now, right? Like everybody wants to do apartments. Everybody wants to do syndications, right? Like everybody. It's crazy, right? Like even in my like surveys that I've done with people in terms of like what are they interested in learning, I think the number is like 64% want to learn apartments, right? Like they want to learn multifamily and apartments, which is great because that's my level of expertise. But at the same time, it's not great because everyone's going after them. So I'm going to use apartment complexes. So let's say we got like a, I don't know, man. Let's say a 20 unit. So we got 20 units. And let's say the purchase price is like $500,000. Now again, I'm doing this, I'm using this example based on what I see happening most in the world of real estate investing. Here's what everyone's doing. They're buying this building for $500,000 and they are being told that it's an up and coming area. And again, guys, right? I have the privilege of being able to communicate with hundreds and thousands of real estate investors on a weekly basis. And I'm just sharing with you what I hear most commonly, right, in terms of what people are looking to do and what people are doing right now and some of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people are making, all right? I'm just being transparent. I'm just a messenger here, right? So here's what's going on, right? So they buy 20 units for very cheap, right? Very cheap, because in this case scenario, they're buying each unit for $25,000. They're buying it in an up-and-coming area. And why is it an up-and-coming area? Why? Because construction's huge right now. Right? Construction's huge. A lot of the metropolitan areas, there's construction going on, right? Even in my hometown of Chicago, right, where you already have a large population and you already have high taxes, there's a couple hotels coming up, right? A lot of big buildings coming up. Matter of fact, I have a friend, a mentor of mine who I speak with on a weekly basis who is developing 40,000 square feet in downtown Chicago, along with another like 50,000 square feet in downtown Chicago. Really good friend of mine. He's a developer, but that's what he's doing. So a lot of people are saying that, oh, these areas are up and coming. Like, look at all these construction crews, right? So they're buying $500,000. They're putting like another $500,000 into it. And the value goes to like 1.3, 1.2. And they get it appraised. But they don't tell you what they appraise it on, right? They don't tell you the market aspects of what they appraise it on. So the value now stands at 1.2 million, right? And what they do is they use the R word. They refinance. And they cash out their investors, right? So let me be a little bit more generous here. Let me say that it's like 1.25, right? So where's the eraser? There it is. Okay, let me be a little more generous, right? And they refinance out their investors, right? And they go to a bank. And the money supply right now in the United States is rather high. Because if you're paying attention to what's going on in the market, with low interest rates and repo market and the starting of QE4, you will know that the money is very cheap, right? There's a very high money supply right now, huge money supply. What happens when the monetary policy and the local and the global economy money supply is rather high? I mean, we're seeing the European Federal Reserve at 0% interest rate. Money's cheap all around the world. China is doing rather crazy, radical things with their currency, right? So the global money supply is really high. Whenever that global money supply gets higher, the banks get looser, right? Banks get looser. So they refinance, right? Let's say, I don't care what rate they get, but they refinance out $1,050,000, right? So let's say they give their investors a 5% return. So they keep $200,000 worth of equity, and they now have a loan for $1,050,000. $50,000, right? So they got a loan, $1,050,000. Now, I mentioned earlier something along the lines of San Diego, California, right? So let me explain to you. So this is my best attempt at drawing the United States, right? Here we go. Wisconsin, and we got Lake Michigan over here. Then, Michigan. There we go. Maine. Okay, we got Florida. We got Texas. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good for me. For me, I'm a terrible artist, but that's pretty good. Okay, so in these markets over here, right, the Western markets, we have a lot of high-low. It's a roller coaster. It's really high and really low. In these markets over here, the East Coast, it's also very high-low. It's a roller coaster. South, depending on your economic growth, medium high-low. Midwest, pretty consistent. Matter of fact, the most consistent market right now is Ohio, right? So Ohio is your most consistent market. In the past, I think Akron, Ohio, or something like that, one of the cities in Ohio. The largest year-to-year change that they have in terms of plus minus, in terms of real estate values, is 3%. So you're talking about 3% high, 3% low, 3% high, 3%, like it's really not that big, right? But obviously in 2008, we saw values drop as low as 60-70%, right, in the West and East Coast. Midwest, if you're in like Chicago, whatever, that number may be closer to 20-30, right? So let's say in this hypothetical situation, you've got a high market, which we are right now, right? 54% of, let's put this in context, right? 5 years ago, when you're talking about the market share of all capital that's being invested into real estate, period, 17% of all capital went towards multifamily. 5 years ago, people. That's 2014, right? 17%. Today, you're talking about 26.3%. And a year from now, they're estimating it's going to be at 30 to 35%. So the number is getting a lot higher. More capital is being pushed into the multifamily and apartment complex market. We've also seen a wave. Now, I understand that it's stopped, but we also saw a large wave of foreign money coming in and buying multifamily and apartment complexes. And also Fannie Mae financing for apartment complexes is higher than ever before. 54% of all apartment complex financing has been through Fannie Mae, right? Because of their low rates, a lot of people are attracted to that, right? So we got a lot of money coming into multifamily, and that's what feeds this value, right? Because banks a lot of times will appraise their apartments based on what the federal cap rate is, what the interest rate is. A lot of it is going to be contingent on what's called monetary policy, right? So I see a lot of you guys are asking questions about what is repo. So the repo market is pretty much the banks borrowing money to cover their operational costs. I would do some YouTube research on that. If you guys want me to cover it next week, I can cover stuff like this the next week. Let me know, right? Tired of hearing about the repo market. Yeah, me too, man, but it's happening, right? It's the end of the world. Okay, so a lot of highs and lows is what's going on right now, right? So that appraisal is contingent on the banks and the central banking system's monetary policy and the fiscal policy. So what's going on with the Federal Reserve, money supply, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Let's say it's 3 years later. And a lot of times these banks, when they give out balloons, right? They give out balloons. So let's say that you had a 3-year balloon, right? It was short-term financing. Because a lot of people do that, just believe it or not. They do interest-only loans, and they leverage, right? It's not a good idea. So let's say now it's 3 years later, and let's say that you owe $975,000 left on your balance. And you have equity, right? So according to you, right, because you got it appraised for 1.25 million, right? You have $275,000 worth of equity. Now let's say the value drops. It becomes low. And let's say the building drops in value, let's say 30%, which by the way is very generous, right? In 2008, 2009, we saw properties drop significantly more than that. So 30%. So they dropped in value $375,000, right? So minus $375,000. Okay, we're looking at the value being $875,000. What this does, that it pushes what's called your loan to value ratio over 100%. And that freaks out the banks. That absolutely freaks out the banks. And in order for you to refinance, they're going to ask for $100,000. Why? Because that's the difference between the balance of your note and also what the value of the building is. And they're not going to refi you. They're not. Especially if you're an amateur investor and you don't have a high net worth, they're not going to do it. So you're going to lose your building. You're going to have to come up with, $975,000 because they're not going to refi you, or you're going to have to go to another bank, which most likely they're not going to refi you because you've already been underwritten. You've got a hard inquiry on your credit report. It's not going to be very appealing. But let's say that you don't have a 3-year balloon, right? Let's say that you secured a 5-year balloon, a 10-year balloon. Well, what's going to happen at some point when this loan to value ratio gets high enough, it's like 125, 150, and it's going to happen. With the way I see people leveraging buildings right now, it's absolutely going to happen, right? What's going to go on is that eventually you're going to get a call from the bank. And even if you don't have a balloon or you secure long-term financing, if your value drops way too much, they're going to call the note due. They will, and I've seen it happen to people, right? I absolutely have. So when it comes to recession-proofing your business, well, what do we got to do, right? Well, we got to find ways when it comes to raising money. So when it comes to raising money, looking for deals, and securing the deals and putting the deals together, what do we got to do, right? Well, I'll tell you, right? You got to raise money from people who are considered long-term investors. So I have investors who want to park their money in real estate for 20, 30 years. That's actually what I specialize in. I love working with investors who want to have their money in for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, because they believe in what I believe, which is long-term wealth, right? If I have an investor that wants a long-term wealth, it's very easy for me to help them out because my goals and my philosophies and my values are aligned with theirs. If I have somebody that says, well, I want to make a 12% return in 6 months, I usually turn them away. I say, I can't help you, right? Because we're just not aligned. You're not thinking long-term, right? You want quick money now, right? I like long-term people. So long-term investors who are okay with having their money in for a very long time so that you don't refinance. That we have strong equity, right? Looking for deals, value add. What do I mean by that? Opportunities where you can increase the value of the building based on your actions. So there's 4 different ways of appreciating a property, right? You got passive appreciation, which is values going up just through time, right, which we can't rely on. We have earned appreciation, which through the negotiation process, we're actually able to buy the building less than what it was appraised or assessed for. We have passive, we have earned, we have, gosh, why am I blanking? Passive, earned, forced appreciation, where you increase the value, increase the income of a building to increase the value of the income stream. Therefore, you increase the value of the asset as a whole. And I'm blanking on the 4th one, right? You'll have to excuse. I know I talk about it in another video, so you'll have to catch me on that one, right? But I don't know why I'm blanking. But value add, opportunities where you can appreciate the buildings on your own time, on your own time schedule. Putting the deals together, secure long-term financing with high equity position to start off, or do owner financing with a long balloon, or even no balloon at all. right? Long or no balloon is what I would say. Capiche? All right, let me check to see if you guys have any questions.
You want to talk about owner financing? I'll pop it up again.
Yeah, owner financing. So if you guys want to check out that class, again, guys, when it comes to owner financing, I have put together a 90-minute class on owner financing, right? So again, guys, it's freeownerfinancingcourse.com. Link is in the description below. So when I say if you want to recession-proof your business, right, when it comes to putting the deals together, I always say acquire it on owner financing. Always, right? Because it's going to protect you from the banks, right? A lot of times the reason why people lost everything in the recession was because of the bank, right? So again, guys, free course on owner financing. Check that out in the description below. Okay, let me see. The gurus would say shop banks until you find one that do the refi. The problem with that is every time you shop a bank, you get a hard inquiry on your credit report. Any more than 3 in 1 month period of time, they're not even going to underwrite you anymore. So those gurus are stupid. They are though, right? Like, I mean, seriously, you can't do that. That's the dumbest thing that you could ever do, right? Because it's more than 3, right, in a month, they're not even going to look at you, right? And these are things that I've heard from actual commercial bankers who do this stuff on a daily basis. If you have more than 3 hard inquiries on your personal credit or even your business credit, wherever you apply, right, they're not even going to take a look at you. They don't care if you have a 750 credit score or you've done real estate for 30 years. They're not even going to look at you, right? Not smart. Okay, what happens to 30-year fixed if property's underwater? Loan started in 2019 for triplex. I don't know. I need more information, right? I need to know. Yeah, I need more information. So email me at info@thekwakbrothers.com. I'll write it here in the board so that you can see it. So info at email me with that one, and I'll take a look at it, right? Because I just need more info. That's all I need. Okay, cool, guys. Any other questions? Because I know we're at near the top of the hour. Any other questions, guys, on real estate investing? If you do, email me here at info@thekwakbrothers.com. That way I'll be able to take care of it. If you have any questions that you weren't able to ask because you were shy, whatever, email me there, and I'll take care of it. If not, guys, feel free to tune in soon because actually in about 30 minutes, I'm actually doing an interview with Oren Clough, who's the New York Times bestselling author of the book Pitch Anything. So stay tuned, guys. Again, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. We really appreciate the support. Other than that, guys, have a phenomenal Monday. I'll see you guys next week. Am I live? All right, I'm back live. Just kidding. So I just saw 2 questions, so I'm going to address that really quickly. And I know it's a little scary in the back, so I'm going to go ahead and share the whiteboard here. Okay, cool. So we're back on. All right, can everyone still hear me? Awesome. Do we still have, wow, we have 30 people. Phenomenal. Okay, so there's 2 questions that people asked just as I was leaving. So I'm going to answer those 2 questions real quick, and then we'll be gone for reals this time, all right? It's like, no, you hang up first. Okay, so... So are you saying we should not shop mortgages? I'm not saying you shouldn't shop mortgages. I'm saying you should do it in a smarter way. What do I mean by that is, here's what I think. If you're in a position where you have to shop a mortgage, you've already failed, right? That's already a bad deal. If you're in a position where you can't refinance at the bank you're at now, most likely there will not be another bank that will refinance you. It's a very slim chance, and you'd have to do a lot of digging in order for you to do that. Now, when it comes to mortgages and lenders, obviously the Kwak Brothers, we're experts at that. You know, we know a little bit more than the usual person because of our debt acceleration strategy that we train on, you know, for the longest time, right? I mean, our most popular video is that how to pay off your mortgage, right? It's got over 3 million views. So I know if you go to our resources side on thekwakbrothers.com, that we do have a list of preferred lenders. If not, email us at info@the Brothers, and we'll be able to share with you on some great ways you can shop mortgages without, or checking out lenders, checking out banks without having to go through that underwriting process. Because a lot of banks, what they want to do is they just want to take you through that underwriting process. They just do. They just want to be able to do that without, like, you will see a lot of bankers will tell you, well, like, once we take you to the underwriting process, we'll be able to tell you, right? Because that's what they want to do. They want to see your information. They want you to be able to hand in your stuff that way that, because they won't be able to give you an answer until then, right? So it's kind of like the cart, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Like, what comes first, the terms of the deal or the underwriting, and a lot of times it's the underwriting. Do you have any recommendations on banks who may do a 90% LTV HELOC on 3-family units? Yeah, June Pack. Again, we obviously a line of credit is our bread and butter. So feel free to email us at info@the Brothers. Put the subject line, information on lines of credit, and then put your situation in the email below. That'll be able to help us out. Antonio, thanks for the great info. Thank you, Antonio. I appreciate your kind words. All right, guys, I'm gone for real this time. I'll see you guys next Monday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Thank you for the last-minute questions because probably a lot of people were wondering the same thing. So if you have any additional questions at all, email us at info@the Brothers. Goodbye for reals.